You know, I'm just gonna go say it. Wes Craven is a freaking genius. Hi, my name is Mette, and today I shall be reviewing yet another movie. This time it will not be a drunken review, but it will instead be a review for MovieClub Strikes Back, where I got to pick this week's movie, which was Scream. I picked Scream because it was Friday the 13th, and I thought, it's probably a good pick. Let's do horror on a horror night. I picked Scream because it's one of my absolute favorite movies. If you don't know Scream, it's the story of a little town called Woodsboro where all of a sudden a killer is loose, killing teens, and it's just a whole blood fest. Now Scream is, I believe, actually almost a joke of horror movies. I know that Wes Craven wanted to do something kind of different, kind of wanted to take the piss out of horror movies, and I think he did very well with this one. Now there are some not so famous people in this, but I think everybody does a great job. The opening sequence is probably one of the most well-known ones, where we have Drew Barrymore alone in a house and she gets stalked by the killer. We get a phone call, you know, what's your favorite scary movie? And it just takes off from there. And in general, the story is just really, really awesome. You know, it's a classic horror type feel where you're trying to figure out who the killer is and who can you trust among your friends, and it also plays on the very teenage insecurities of who am I friends, what's been happening to me. The story focuses on Sydney, who is a pretty normal teenager, but her mother was killed, and the killer then all of a sudden focuses on her, and then in the end we figure out why. And I think it's very, very interesting because it takes a lot of twists and turns where you don't really think you know where it's going. And even though I've watched this movie probably more than 50 times, I still love it. It's one of my absolute favorite ones. It's one of those movies where if I'm not doing anything, I'll put it on and I'll watch it just because I have something to watch, and it never gets boring for me. Now, what you'll see with these types of movies from the 90s is that the blood and gore, you know, it's very, you know, it's actually not that bad, but it's still excessive to a point. It looks very, very fake. I think considering everything, you know, the actors do a really, really great job, and I love the fact that it changes all the time and you don't know where you are. You think you figured out who the killer is and then it's not. I think that's a great twist that a lot of horror movies now are missing. Scream just has something that connects with me, and I don't know what it is, but it's something great. If you are a horror fan, you definitely need to watch it, and if you're not a horror fan, I would actually say watch it too, because it's a very light introduction to horror movies. I used to never watch horror movies, and then I figured, you know, I need to watch it. I need to watch something. I just want to see these horror movies, and I started with Scream, and I've never looked back since because it was such a good introduction to horror. Because it's the classic type of jump scares. There's not zombies or anything else, you know, your little ghosts or something that typically scares me. For me, it worked very, very well. And also just because, you know, it's not that it's relatable, but it's just, you know, the plot is just a lot better than a lot of other teenage horror movies, and I think that it works very, very well even today. Well, I think, you know, Scream plays to a lot of other things other than just horror. This thought of getting killed. It's I trust my friends. Are people really who they say they are? I know this, that everybody has some sort of dark side in them. I would definitely, yes, recommend Scream for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. It is definitely my favorite horror movie out there, even though people will say that it's probably not that much horror. It's more in the cabin in the woods type horror movies that are sort of trying to take the piss out of horror movies, because that is what Wes wanted to do. He wanted to do something where taking the piss out of the pretty girl gets killed first, all these things. Wanted to play to the typical horror movie things, but there are also, you know, a lot of points in the movie where Sydney is talking about, you know, the typical horror elements, and, you know, they talk a lot about how a horror movie is, and if they were in a horror movie, how would it end, who would be the killers, all these things. I think it's very, very interesting take on it that you incorporate the rules of horror movies in a horror movie and discuss them as clearly as you do in the movie. Normally you just let it slip by, but here they really discuss it and you apply it to other movies when you think about it later on, and I think that's very, very interesting. A commentary on horror movies in a horror movie. So, you know, I don't really have that many bad things to say about this movie. I would definitely recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. I think that scary, but not that scary. You know, it's bearable, and I think now we have A lot of different things sound more scary, but this is scary in a traditional way and in a normal way. I would give it 5 out of 5 stars because I love it that much. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please go over to MovieClub Strikes Back and check out our page, check out our videos. We have live hangouts every single Saturday, and it's just a good time. And if you like this video, please hit the button, subscribe if you want to, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz. And I will see you with a review very soon, actually, because I'm filming another one. Ah.